When Calls the Heart, Season 9, Episode 2, Out Like a Lamb. Last week when the show went off, it looked like Nathan and his horse were getting ready to collide with a car. So here we go. We're going to find out what happened. Elizabeth opened the door for Jack's babysitter, but before she closed the door, Lucas rolled up. He said, "There's been an accident. It's Nathan." Elizabeth took the smile from her face and began to look serious. The next scene was Lucas and Elizabeth showing up at the doctor's office. Rosemary greeted them. Elizabeth said to Rosemary, "How bad is he hurt?" Rosemary said, "Well, he made it through the night." And Faith said, "That's very encouraging." Bill rolled up and said that the witnesses say that it was a black sedan that hit Nathan. And Elizabeth yelled out, "How's Newton?" From what I gather, Newton is the name of Nathan's horse. I don't believe I ever heard the name before, but she said, "How is Newton?" Rosemary said that he's hurt, but they believe he's going to be all right. Jack said that they're looking for someone with Lucas said they must have a lot of bad dented front end damage. And Bill said that they're looking for the car now. Rosemary told Elizabeth that Faith said the only people she wants inside with Nathan right now is Molly and May. May Sue is the pharmacist that was on there last week. Elizabeth looked disappointed and she let out a sigh. It didn't seem like a sigh of attitude. It just seemed like a sigh of maybe frustration from wondering how Nathan is doing. Elizabeth was sitting on the bench right outside the doctor's office, and Molly came out and said to Elizabeth, Faith said, "You better come inside." When Elizabeth got inside, Faith told her the rundown on what's wrong with Nathan. I think she said his collarbone was broken or something like that. And she said that Nathan was asking for Elizabeth. So she gave her 2 minutes with him, to talk to him. Elizabeth sat down beside Nathan and looked at him and said, "You had us all worried." He stared at her for a few seconds and he said, "Who are you?" Then he started laughing and choking. Well, he wasn't choking. He was like pain. He held his shoulder out of pain. And he said, "That hurts." And she said, "Nathan Grant." That wasn't funny. Nathan told Elizabeth that he didn't want Allie to know about this because she's having fun at her grandparents' house and he didn't want to take away from that. And he wanted her to check on Newton, the horse. Everyone was waiting around for the results of the mayor's election. Mr. Yost and his wife came out and asked for everyone's attention. He said the results of the Hope Valley mayor's election is inconclusive. Therefore, they will be conducting a recount. So Mike, Lee, and Bill will have to run again. Well, maybe not run again. I guess they just will have to redo the count. I don't think that has anything to do with running. But yeah, they're going to do a count over. Everyone began to talk to each other and look bewildered. And Ned and his wife went back into the building. The kids were at the soda shop. Angela, Cooper, and Robert. And they were questioning May. And they said, you're like a doctor, aren't you?" And she said, "Yeah, kinda. And they were asking her about Newton because he won't let anyone else come close to him. So they asked her to check him out. So she agreed, and And as she was leaving, Minnie came in the shop, and evidently Cooper was supposed to come and study at the cafe. And so she came and got him. And when they got outside, Cooper asked Minnie, "Can I ask you something? But I don't want you to be mad at me." And she said, "Cooper, what is it?" And he said, "Do I have to go to church?" And she said, "Go to church when?" He said, "Ever." He didn't want to go back to church. And then they went on to where May was. May was in the stable, and she went up to Newton, and he did a little whining, but he let her in, and she rubbed, stroked him, and as she was going up to Newton, Elizabeth came in, and she looked concerned because she didn't know what Newton was gonna do. But when Newton let May stroke his face and his arms or whatever, she felt, relieved, and then she left the stable. Mr. Yost and his wife rung the bell to let everybody know that they were going to make another announcement. When they got there, they announced the new winner of the mayor position. And the new mayor of Hope Valley is Mike Hickabee. And Mike wasn't even there. Lee and Bill were disappointed, and Mike wasn't there. When they showed Mike again, he was celebrating. Woohoo! I won! Woohoo! And then they panned the camera on Bill and Lee, who were sitting at the table, looked like they were playing cards, and they were just looking at Mike, with no smile, just looking. And then Mike calmed down a little bit and said, "I just came by to congratulate you on a hard-fought campaign." Bill and Lee just continued to just look at him, and when he left, they looked at each other and commenced to playing cards again. Then they just threw both hands down. Minnie was talking to Joseph about Cooper not wanting to go to church. And Joseph was talking like, Cooper didn't have a choice. And Minnie was talking like, maybe we should think about this. And Joseph said, "What would it look like for my own son not to be at Sunday service?" Minnie said, "That's not anyone's concern. That will be between Cooper and God." Lucas brought Nathan a scoop of ice cream. They were talking about, little talk. They were talking little talk. And when Lucas decided to leave, he said, "Okay, he's getting ready to leave." And Nathan stopped him. And then he said, "That's okay." Then Lucas said, "What?" And he said, "Would you bring me some more ice cream?" And then he said, "Okay." And then he said, "Well, that's okay if it's about guilt." Lucas said, "Guilt about what?" Nathan said, "Elizabeth." And Lucas said, "I don't feel any guilt." He said, Nathan said, "Nor should you." And then Nathan, let's be clear about this. "I really don't have any guilt." Nathan said, "Oh, okay, no guilt. Two scoops this time. Two scoops this time. And a cone." Lucas walked out the door. Fiona finally told uh, Henry that she was the reason Mr. Jerome Smith was in town. She said she should have waited to see what he had to say about the matter, but instead she headed to San Francisco. She saw the opportunity to put together a big deal, and she went at it. She apologized for losing sight of everyone else. Henry thanked her for telling him, and he said, "You're right. We can't lose focus. We can't lose sight of the people involved in this. Fiona asked Mike where was he when they announced him as mayor. He said he was helping a neighbor round up some strays that had gotten away, cows. And he said he was also kind of avoiding Henry. Henry told Fiona to avoid any conflict of interest that he think he's going to step down from Gowan Industries and give his shares to her. She protested. She said, "No, Mike, you can't." He said, "If you decide to sell them later, then we'll settle up then." He said, "But the company needs you, Fiona, for the exact same reason you went to see Henry. This is a new day for both of us." Rosemary asked Lee to become the managing editor of the Valley Voice, and he accepted. Mr. Jerome Smith asked Henry to stay a member of the deal that they're in, and Henry said that he'll consider it. Henry and Mr. Smith were shaking hands before Mr. Smith got on the stage. Elizabeth was standing back in the cut, watching and smiling, watching like she usually does. She sees everything. She passed by Mr. Gowan and said, "And not a single punch thrown." He said, "Well, I thought about it. Well, it seems like I can't outrun my past. I need to see what I can do to fix it." As Mr. Smith's stage was leaving, Fiona came out running and asking them to wait. Lee said, "Where are you going?" She said, "I don't know yet." And then she got on the stage and she and Mr. Smith rode away. Mr. Yost was telling May that, "I feel like you misled me." She said, "I didn't mean to mislead you." He said, "You were posed in the letter to be your husband." She said, "But everything else I wrote in the letter was true about myself and about my qualifications to being a pharmacist." Then she asked him, "Would you have hired me if you'd known I was a woman?" And as she walked away, Mr. Yost followed her with his eyes and his mouth open. Then he looked to the side and tilted his head. In church, the pastor was talking about why they gather like that in church, the way they do in church. And as he was speaking, Henry was coming in like he was going to walk to the church. Then he stopped and he turned around and walked the other way. So he changed his mind. Back in church, the preacher asked Mike, the new mayor, if he had any words to say. And Mike stood up and said, "What you said," and sat down. And that was the end of the show. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe.